listening to The Edge, everything bass fishing, coming to you worldwide from Megaware KeelGuard Studios.
What? Coming in hot. Coming in hot, Aaron. Oh my God, I'm coming in hot. Dude, crazy things going on. Welcome to Bass Edge Radio, the June 15 edition, my friend. We made it.
Yes, sir, and almost makes me want to kind of think of that song "School's Out" for summer, because right. Maya is graduated. We've gotten through her graduation party. Next stop, University of RedCrest in Kansas City in September. So anyway, summer has officially started in my book, Kurt.
Yeah, are you recovered from the hungover on the big grad party there?
Oh, man. Yeah, it's a great time. Lots of friends and family and all the above. So, yeah, it was a good time.
Well, yeah, man, for sure school's out down here in Texas also, man. We just wrapped up the Texas Youth Fishing Camps here at Lake Amistad, Pro Bass Camp, man.
Another full house.
Yeah, another full house, man. And you always enjoy these programs, man. And when I finish them, I'm dead tired. That's why I started off the show with coming in hot, because it's just been a nonstop deal. But I'm already excited for the New York camp coming up in July. But it was a great deal down here in Texas. So excited about that. And talking about up north and going to New York, dude, fish are in full spawn mode up there. One day I got to get an RV. And I'm going to start down south. And I'm going to be obviously retired because this is going to be a 6-month, 7-month trip. But I'm going to follow the spawn from south to north, and pretty crazy to talk about. In June they're spawning up in New York, and it's going on big time. I just say New York, but Michigan, Ohio, New York, Vermont, everywhere up north, Minnesota. It's that time of year to catch a piggy up there.
Yeah, and of course you mentioned up north, that is really synonymous with brown fish, right? I mean, just being able to go up there and not only going after largemouth, but then you bring in those nice smallmouth. It's that time of year.
Yeah, things are moving, man. Moving and shaking. The bass fishing world's on fire. We got to somehow keep this momentum. This awesome momentum we've essentially had since late February, early March. Just great momentum all the way up through now, and it's still rolling. But, man, how do we keep this going in July, August, September, October?
Well, I tell you how is because I am practicing for Truman, so that is going to keep me focused on making sure that we squeeze as much juice as we can, but no more, because I want to get back out on the water and get back to practicing. But yeah, I'm actually at Truman Reservoir, Kurt, getting ready for the BFL there. Water, of course, as most lakes are in Missouri, but Truman is a core lake, so it is a flood control lake.
Okay.
Holding water back, right, for Lake of the Ozarks, because that's where it goes into, part of the Osage River. But it's been interesting. I've got to say, top water's coming into play. We've got the vibrating jig, throwing that around a little bit, and then also doing a little flipping, kind of experimenting a little bit with Cinco, flipping that around some pole timbers in the treetops, and fish just really getting locked into post-spawn mode.
Let's break that down real quick. The great Rick Clunn always said, follow the bait to find the bass. What kind of things are you seeing out there on Truman that kind of lead you to fishing those patterns from a bait orientation perspective?
So, I think the first thing that comes to mind is when you start getting into mid-June and the temperatures, the mercury's rising, it makes you want to pull offshore and those fish starting to pull away. That's not necessarily 100% the case. Still finding some that are relating to shallow. Of course, the shad spawn, kind of playing with that with the brim that's coming off. So I'm looking for predominantly fish that are feeding on either the bigger thread fins or also just a lot of the bluegill, because that's where the better fish to me to win a tournament like this, when you've got the local hammers like we do.
Right.
To me, that's where I've got to be. So might get fewer bites, but the bites are better in quality.
Well, it sounds like you're going to be fishing your strengths there, Aaron, and maybe a great event for you. We're going to keep an eye on that. We'll have to see how that all ends up. But thanks for sharing those little insights. Hopefully your crew out there isn't...
Yeah, hopefully I don't let you down. Put a big bagel up,
You'll be good, my friend. I tell you what, we talk about this now every episode, Aaron. But again, we've got a cool deal that we've got to share with you right here on Bass Edge Radio. I've got Chris Shoplock from Nomad going to check in with us. Nomad Designs, bro, they've come out with a freshwater series, and they've got a little tidbit, man. I saw this past spring. I was actually at Sportsman's Warehouse, and we had a get together there, a meeting, and we were looking at Nomad Design freshwater series, a brand new series. But in the lip of these baits, they have what is called an auto tune. Now, if you've never heard of auto tune, y'all got to stay tuned for this next segment. Again, we're going to talk with Chris Shoplock, marketing manager at Nomad Designs. Stay tuned right after this message. We're going to be right back with some information you don't want to miss.
Nitro Performance Bass Boats. Get pro-level performance with the Nitro Z18, the official boat of Major League Fishing. The Z18, with its nimble handling and versatility, sports many of the features in the larger boats in the line, like a Guardian live well, a heavily insulated cooler, dual 8-foot rod storage, and our smooth and fast NVT hull. Every Nitro boat is laid out to do one thing very well: catch fish. Enormous front decks, up to 45 square feet on the Z21, allow maximum mobility when battling unruly bass, and feature low-profile gunnels for ease of skipping, pitching, flipping, or landing fish. Nitro Performance Bass Boats, pure fishing machines.
Aaron, a new fresh design in the freshwater hard bait world, man. They hit the shelves this spring, coming from Nomad Design. And they've had a lot of great success in the saltwater world. And we're lucky to have with us on this episode the marketing manager, Chris Shoplock. Chris, thanks for swinging into Bass Edge Radio with us.
Oh, man, right back at you. Thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity.
Well, Chris, Swim Trek is a super cool bait in the freshwater lineup. Interestingly, the DNA is out of necessity, which would like to kind of hear a little bit more about that. But the way that it falls, swims down in the water column on a pause and retrieve, also very intriguing to me is the auto tune. Can you help Bass Edge Nation kind of learn or understand its kind of incubation, and then also some of the topics and things that make it unique?
Sure. Yeah, no, and it certainly is. And the auto tune was, like you say, born out of necessity, or the marketing guy in me wants to say our tagline, which is crafted by experience. Our owner, we're out of Australia, was doing long range trips with his boat, the Nomad. And he had clients flying out and coming down in float planes and catching fish, giant trevally, just huge fish that had never seen a lure before in their life out in the Coral Sea. And he was breaking everything, and he couldn't make the lures troll fast enough. And so he's like a computer engineer whiz beyond being a great fisherman. So he made it. He made one. And what he did was he made the auto tune was sort of the keystone feature. It's been patented since. So we're the only ones that can use the auto tune. And what it basically is a free floating line tie that allows the lure to work kind of outside. It doesn't pin the line to the bill of the lure. So you can go much quicker because it'll absorb that vibration when you're going. And I'm talking, 9, 10, 12 knots that they're pulling these things. And these things are getting down, 20, 30 feet. And we started thinking about how we could do it on other products, and we brought it in some more of our saltwater products, but we always wanted to be in freshwater. And we designed a bunch of baits. We have 7 families, and 4 of them sport the auto tune. And that's kind of what gives the Swim Treks that beautiful falling motion, is because that line is not a fixed tied point to the lure, because we all know that line will affect how the lure falls.
Wow. Chris, I first got my hands on the Nomad Design Freshwater Series earlier this spring. I want to say it was in March. I was out in Utah, actually, and was able to view these lures, the whole series. And I got to say, some really neat designs. The swim tracks, we'll talk a little bit later about the Vertrex Max, but really the auto tune I felt like was the big eye popper for me. And the auto tune in the deep diver, you got the D-Track 65 and the D-Trax 80. To have a bait now with this auto tune, like you call it, the free floating line tie, it's going to always achieve the maximum depth potential of a lure design, whatever the design is. Obviously, Nomad's the only one that's going to ever be able to put an auto tune on a lure. So that's going to be pretty cool that whatever design now you can come up with from a fishing lure with the auto tune, it's always going to achieve its maximum potential depth. There's no more a bait running off to the right or running off to the left or hitting a piece of cover and becoming off tune, right? Because it's going to be auto tune.
Right.
And man, I just feel like there's so much more that is going to happen with Nomad because of this feature. How deep will that D-Trex 65 and D-Trex 80 run?
Well, it's funny, and this is the thing that's kind of cool about AutoTune is it doesn't just do one thing. When you look at it on the swim tracks, the swim tracks looks like your standard lipless crank, and a lot of people think, that's the way that lure works, and it really doesn't. It's made to fall and have that wounded action as it just slowly falls down on a slack line. And yeah, we were just hammering fish on it up in Clear Lake. I mean, it was not even fair. But the cool thing about it is the D-Track does the opposite. The D-Track now lets you run that thing under extreme tension. So the swim tracks, it gives you free floating capabilities. On a crankbait and a trolling bait, it gives you that same thing that our saltwater DTX and Mad Max have, which is where that auto tune keeps them running straight and lets you get it down really deep. And the reason why is because we can also move that toe point further out on the bill. It doesn't have to be pinned up against the nose. And so that also gets that lure down without having to have some kind of crazy cranking, high speed reel and getting everything right. It will literally get down. You don't have to burn it to get it down. We were fishing, and we have some video on our YouTube channels where Gerald Sporer, he had the 80 down at around 22, 23 feet, slow cranking it, bouncing it off the bottom.
Nice.
And the 65 will get down between 15, 16, 17 feet. And, it's a small little crankbait, and it doesn't have this ginormous bill. It's because of that line tie. So, as to answer your question, they can definitely get down there, but it's not a matter of like brute strength or some kind of incredible amount of speed. It's literally science, it's just physics, and it works out so great. And the possibilities are endless, really, when you start thinking about it that way.
Engineering is a wonderful thing like that. And it's certainly something extremely unique just to think that, you don't have to go down to reduce line size to get those depths, or like you said, to completely change how you fish. Very, very interesting. One of the things that really all of the Nomad series are unique, and I like them, but Vertrex Max, that one really kind of stood out to me. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. The vibe, the vibe tribe. We have it is what a story, man. And it just continues to evolve every single day. We even gave it its own Nomad Vibe Tribe YouTube channel. We even give it its own segment on our new website. It's an old type of system that's been over in Australia for a couple decades, and it's a soft plastic that looks, oddly enough, like a swim tracks. It looks like a lipless crankbait, but it's a soft bodied lure that is through wired. Okay, so for saltwater guys, they'll know how important through wired is. So a bluefish or a toothy critter doesn't just bite the bait in half, and or a huge fish, rip the bait apart. This is a very small bait, and we just got back from Boca Grande, where on the little 110 we were catching 100-pound tarpon in Boca Grande Pass. People didn't think it could be done. They're only fishing live bait down there, but. Oliver got his hands on it from Big Bass Streams, and he's like, we know this could work in freshwater. And sure enough, that's his absolute favorite, because it kind of works the same way as the swim tracks. It'll swim on the pause, but it vibes up so hard, and it's silent. It's deadly silent. And so we're going to be coming out with a whole freshwater line of baits where we take the saltwater hooks off the vibes. We put some new BKK freshwater hooks on, probably the spear extra wide gaps we're looking at. And we really, since we sort of brought this here into the U.S. and people started fishing it, I think we're up to like 70 species since September. I mean, like every single thing you could think of. We just got alligator guard down in Trinity River in Texas, one of my pro staffers the other day. So, man, the Vertrix vibe, and even though it's a saltwater bait, go take a look at them, because your mind's going to instantly, and go check out the Vibe Tribe on YouTube. Your mind's it's one of those baits that'll start your creative juices flowing for sure.
So many cool things going on with Nomad Design. It's got to be an exciting time for you and the team there in this freshwater bass fishing market to be launching, some new hard bait products. Chris, what do you see on the horizon as far as their involvement in the freshwater industry, so that all of us bass nuts can be following along Nomad?
Sure. I mean, we're in the infancy stage, and we're a small company, and, we're not going to come in and bash the door down with millions of dollars and huge campaigns. We're going to do it the same way we did it with saltwater, which is crafted by experience. We're using GDP, Greg DePalma. We're using Oliver. We're using Gerald Sporer. Those are our sort of pros that we're working with right now. And we are at the moment designing, we have the 7 families right now, but we really want to make sure that we can offer a lineup in most of your prevalent categories. So we want to start getting maybe into, say, like the spinnerbait realm or the swim jig realm. We're looking at different color schemes, and we're looking to sort of get a little bit more maybe into some of the swim bait stuff. But we really want to kind of present a nice, full, hard body, rounded out. You probably start seeing, so our Shikari jerkbait is awesome. You're probably going to see some variations on that for depth. But what we're doing is we're taking our time, and we're doing a lot of research, and we're fishing the baits, and we're talking to people. And it's funny because, I run the socials, and people make their silly comments, and I come back and I'm like, hey, that's actually interesting, and they're like, wait, what? Right. They're like, you're not going to ban me? I'm like, no, tell me more. So we're ears wide open, and like, it's just the beginning. And you're right. It's so exciting because we're just kind of writing history here.
Yeah. You guys do a great job on social. I know that's a big part of your expertise and marketing campaign in that realm. So props to you guys. It's a great product that you've got going and gotten started, and it's going to be fun to watch and see where it heads.
I agree.
Chris, thanks so much for carving out time to be on Bass Edge Radio. How can our listeners, find out more information to see all of the many things that's going on with Nomad?
Sure. Pretty easy. Nomadtackle.com is our website that we're in the process of completely tricking out. We just tore it down, our old website, and built one brand new from scratch, and we're having fun putting stuff into there. YouTube, Nomad Bass on YouTube, and then any of our socials, which is Nomad Bass and Nomad Freshwater. Because we're out there so much, you kind of, Google almost fills it in for you at this point.
No, that's great. And if the rest of Bass Edge Nation is like me, I like easy and I like simple. So appreciate you breaking it down for us, and certainly welcome more ideas as they come out, and we'll try and get those out to Bass Edge Nation as soon as you guys have some additional announcement. But as always, a pleasure to have you on the show.
Absolutely. I can't thank you guys enough, and I look forward to sharing the future with you guys.
Excellent. All right, Bass Edge Nation, there you have it. There you are. Check out Nomad. And in the meantime, Kurt and I we're going to take a quick break, and we will come back to join this week's featured guest right here on Bass Edge Radio.
This is MLF Pro Circuit title champion Jimmy Washam.
This is professional angler Andrew Upshaw.
This is BASS Elite Series champion Brian Schmidt.
This is BASS Open champion Nick LeBrun right here on Bass Edge Radio.
Know the importance of protecting your investments, so why use anything else other than the original and toughest DIY keel protector for your boat? Megaware KeelGuard. Grinding sand, abrasive rocks, and concrete ramps are no match for our exclusive contoured edge and patented technology. Megaware KeelGuard keel protectors are made tough and made to stick. Their do-it-yourself installation takes less than an hour, providing the longest-lasting, most dependable keel protection for your boat, guaranteed for life. Developed specifically by boat builders offering the best keel protection in the industry. Also from Megaware KeelGuard, Skeg Guard, Flex Step Pro, and Pontoon Guard. So give your boat the performance edge. Put on the protection the pros pick. Megaware KeelGuard.
As mentioned before the break, a returning guest here on Bass Edge Radio. thankful to catch up with this angler, as over the last several years, he's continued to impress the bass fishing world with his versatility. Now he's got a new title to his name, the 2022 MLF RedCrest champion. Awesome to have you with us, MLF BBT angler Bobby Lane. Appreciate you being on the show, Bob.
Kurt, it's been a while, but yes, thank you for quite the introduction, and it is very nice to hear that 2022 champion. It's been quite the journey, man. I mean, it's been a long time coming, and to have this every single day I'm at the house, I walk by this trophy, and it never gets old looking at it.
Wow, that's excellent. Well, Bobby, for a guy that grew up in Florida and began the national tours, really, either flipping up checks or frogging for checks, man, has time changed. Your evolution, you're catching fish now in so many ways, and not just catching fish on these new techniques, but winning on them. And I just think that is something to be very proud of for you, but also hopefully we can tap into and kind of extract some of that transformation, that you've put into play and cashing checks on. How has that evolved over time?
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. I grew up Lake Kissimmee, Okeechobee, Harris Chain, where all we did was flip spider wire and throw a frog around in a swim bait. That was honestly in a topwater plug. That is all we did for years and years and years. And it worked, that's what got me to where I'm at today. But man, you're right. Times have changed. I remember my first few years on the FLW tour, I had a lot of success in the beginning. And then as the schedules changed a little bit, I remember guys talking about something like a shaky head. And I was like, I am not throwing I told them, I said, I'm not throwing what I called a fairy wand. Back then, I would never throw a spinning rod. I said, I don't even own one, and I'm not putting one in my boat. Right. And the butt kickings kept coming more relative. And, and it was kind of like, hey, dude, you need to figure something out. So this was way before Abu Garcia, but I bought a few spinning rods and reels. They probably were Abu Garcia. And I just started playing with stuff. I got with some guys that knew how to throw the shaky heads and spinning rods and leaders, stuff that I'm not even familiar with. And I started down that road. And honestly, now that I'm with Abu Garcia and Pure Fishing, it's made it so much more easier for me to have the right line, the right rods, the right reels. Just like last week at Gunnersville, I just smashed them on a spinning rod there. So it's made it easier for me to become more versatile that way. But then also, like you're saying, it's just not spinning rods. It's, cranking them. My win in Kentucky Lake in 2009 and a few other events, fishing deep or learning things, and all of that comes into play. But Lowrance and with the C-MAP, stuff just becomes easier to me, and you have to get out there and do it and believe in it and have confidence in it to make yourself a better fisherman. You can't just pick up a spinning rod and a drop shot and say, okay, I'm going to go fish with a drop shot today. You have to put that in your hands months before and fish only that bait, get confidence in it. Then, you can put it in your arsenal to become a better fisherman. And then in tournaments, when you start catching them on it, it gives you all the confidence you need to start becoming the best fisherman you can. And that's really the way my career's gone throughout the year, over the years.
Yeah, Bobby, as much as I am a fisherman in the sport, I'm a huge fan of the sport. Remember those days of the FLW tour when you busted out and you did it the Florida way on the Shaky Head tour and had some top tens and some really good start to your career. Then you kind of mentioned the evolution of your other techniques throughout time. The big eye opener for me was at Travis a couple years ago. You were almost won the MLF BBT there, drop shotting in like 80 foot of water, suspended fish on docks. And I was like, dude, let me tell you, that to me was the point where it was, holy crap, Bob Lane, he is the full package. And that was it, man. When I saw you do that in that particular event, I was like, dude is unstoppable, and he's reached a whole new level to where he was, 7, 8, 10, 15 years ago. So props to that, man. It's been fun to watch.
That was 128 foot of water my boat was sitting in. My Lowrance would barely pick it up. It was unbelievable, Kurt. But you learn over time. In super clear water, you have to do things different. And then, of course, the Bass Pro Tour, it was a 1-8, and you have to catch as many fish as you can.
That's right.
that kind of setup. But that technique was working, and I could actually see those fish on my active target suspended on those dock cables.
Right.
And I know you guys being from Missouri and fish those lakes in the summer and in the early spring, you see those same fish like we do suspend on dock cables in certain times of the year. And that's exactly what I was doing. And it don't matter if you're catching them in 15 foot of water, your boat can be sitting in 130 foot of water. It's unbelievable where those fish get and how you actually know where they're at sometimes now.
Yeah, that's cool. Bobby, much of the North Country fishing similar behavior patterns that you did back in March, during the RedCrest in Grand Lake in Oklahoma. Some of those same techniques I saw just a couple weeks ago. You had you kind of did a little promo on the MLF site about the Fritz crankbait that you was part of your winning pattern there at the RedCrest, and your top 5 reasons why that crankbait was special to you. But when you're talking to anglers up north fishing right now, mid-June, pre-spawn to spawn, can they use some of those same tactics that you won the RedCrest on? And what kind of advice would you give those anglers looking to catch some of those pre-spawn to spawn type of fish?
Dude, I'm telling you, if you don't have some of those Fritz side 5s, you're crazy. I don't care if it's summer in Florida or pre-spawn in June. This bait works everywhere I've been. So, yes, definitely you can catch fish right now. Throw in that Fritz side 5, guaranteed. Get outside of the spawning pockets. Throw it on some of the deeper rock or deeper parts of the lake. If it doesn't even have rock, it can have docks or wood or a transition point, grass. It doesn't matter. The Fritz side 5 works everywhere. And just match the color to the water that you're fishing. That was key for me. That HD brown looks absolutely perfect in Grand Lake that time of the year. Red works really well. Black chartreuse. We're doing some more HD colors down the road, and just match the color with the water. Try to keep it close to that. But, anytime there's pre-spawn fish, that Fritz side 5 is going to work. I love it on a crank and reel. You're right. I just watched those 5 ways. I talked about that with MLF, and they did a cool job with that. I just saw it yesterday. It was actually on the MLF site. But I throw it on 12-pound test, 100% Berkeley fluorocarbon. I throw it on a Abu Garcia crank and reel. 6 to 8 to 1 is fine, but the rod was key, so you can really chunk and wind that thing a long way. John Cox and one of the other guys at Pure Fishing actually got me throwing that 7.6 winch or the 7.6 PLX, moderate, medium, heavy. It's got the perfect tip for the Fritz side. I said, I'm not throwing a 7.6. That's what I flip with. They're like, Bob, you got to throw a 7.6. I'm like, I like to throw it around docks and stuff like that. They're like, Bob, you need to throw the 7.6. I said, nope, send me 7-foot mediums. They sent me the 7.6s, and I started playing with them early this year. And I'm like, you guys were right. I should have listened a long time ago, man. That is the perfect rod for that bait. It's unbelievable. And then when they slip right up to spawn, you can attack them with the other rods and reels that you got in your box. You can now start picking up your Maxent Generals, skipping them around wacky, depending on the weather and how that goes, stuff like that. But before they start that Fritz side, and it will catch big ones. It is just, we watched John Cox weigh in some hammers at, what did he win, Kurt, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was at Rayburn. He won up there at Rayburn a couple years ago when it just first came out.
The first day?
He did. First, let me jump back to you real quick. What's the difference that you're getting throwing the Fritz side on the 7.6 versus that 7-foot? Is it just the action of the rod? Is it the length of the rod to handle the bait and the fish once they connect? What is it that 7.6 is giving you as far as detail orientation?
Yep. And I'll bring the 7-foot up real quick. Like, I thought the 7-foot was going to be better for like skipping around under trees or skipping under docks and stuff like that.
Sure.
Like I wanted, you're thinking the Hank Parker days
right.
with the shorter pistol grip. You remember he had the pistol grip and he would skip that spinnerbait everywhere he went. That was my mindset, was I'm going to use the shorter rod to skip it around stuff. When I get up tight to cover, I want to put it in between dock pylons. That 7.6, actually, it's got the perfect tip on it, and the winch and the PLX. They're super, super good. But it's the tip and the way the rod's designed. When you hook a fish, the tip bends to the fish, and it actually, those hooks aren't huge, but they are fusion hooks, so it sticks them. I don't think I lost a fish at Grand Lake when I won the 2022 RedCrest. I don't think I lost a fish all week, and it didn't matter if it short struck me or I got it on the end of a long cast. Those hooks were perfect, but that rod, it's got the perfect tip and bend in it. When you do load up on a bass, it can jump, it can make a quick run, and the rod performs the way it needs to. The grips and stuff like that, most of them are standard anymore on all our Abu Garcia stuff, but that PLX or that winch 7.6, those are the two rods that just seem to make a difference. And you can skip those, just not skip them, but you can make short casts under docks. You can go under trees. The more I've used them, I'm like, man, now if I want to put a dredger on or a digger or some bigger crankbait also, all I got to do is tie it to that same rod and reel, because now I can throw it a mile and dig down a ledge if I want to with something deeper. So it's the perfect setup, man.
Well, Bobby, you are not too far removed. You're just off that top 10 at Lake Guntersville Pro Circuit, primarily fishing shallow. I'm curious, as we're here in the middle of June, what's going to be on your deck, and will you continue kind of that shallow style into this month of fishing in the South?
Oh, man, you guarantee it. Some of the best shallow fishing that takes place is in June. That's when I start thinking, okay, the brim beds are either finishing up or in some areas, they're just getting started. Brim beds are huge for bass, and I think the reason is the bass are spawning most of the year, your April and May and stuff like that. And now you're getting into June, the bass are starting to, kind of pre-spawn. Some are done spawning. But what happens is that water temp starts to rise fairly quickly when summer hits. And the bass are done spawning, or they're trying to spawn. Those brim come in and eat the bass eggs immediately, or some of them. Those bass get so pissed off that they turn around and eat the brim, because the water temp heats up and the brim have to go spawn immediately. This is their time of the year. And they'll make beds about the size of like my Phoenix 920. A brim bed will be that big.
Right.
That's the perfect scenario. That's what a brim bed looks like. It's about the size of my Phoenix 920. But they shine real, real white. Like you can cruise all you want in a foot or two of water, as long as it has some clarity. You can also do it on your side imaging a little bit deeper, but you can cruise all around the lake, just like I did at Guntersville a while back in May. And I started to see white spots on like clay points or sandy spots. You would go up there and it'd have about 50 brim laying in a little area like that. All you would do is hit waypoint, you come back, you throw the wacky general at them and catch big ones. I mean, I had two of the biggest stringers just a while ago on Lake Guntersville, so it's absolutely perfect timing for that time. I love having a wacky rig green pumpkin general on the deck this time of the year, but you can't go wrong. I'm going to have my flipping stick because the vegetation starts to grow, and I'm also going to be ripping and roaring to go with any kind of moving bait for sure.
Bob, when you're looking in practice and in the tournament for that matter, fishing these brim beds, do you have to see bass around the brim beds in order to go back and fish that location? Obviously that's best case scenario, but if you're not seeing bass around, will you still hit those areas and just blind cast to those brim beds throughout the day? Is that how you're targeting those, or do you specifically just go back to ones that have had some feeding bass around?
Yep. If the water is clear, that's a great question, Kurt. If the water is clear, I like to go slowly across the brim beds with my, I like to wear those sunrise Post-it Del Mar shades. Get the sun behind me if possible, if there's any sun. And then I like to just cruise over the top of the bed or the corners of it. What happens is the bass like to get on the edge and ambush from like where the corner of the brim bed is. So the brim will make the bed in a patch of grass, or they'll make it where there's two rocks in between some hard spots. They'll make it a bed in there. And what the bass will do is hang on the backside of the rock. So I like to cruise the corners of the brim beds and look to see what happens is you're actually going to spook the bass, or if it's the right time of the day, they will be feeding on top of the brim beds, but you'll spook the bass into the brim bed, then you'll see the size of them. And what I like to do is drop a waypoint right where I see that bass, not just go to the middle of the brim bed and mark it. Go to where you saw the bass swimming. It's almost identical to like herring fishing on Lake Murray or some of these other lakes that have a lot of herring, when those fish get up super shallow during the herring spawn, you can literally cruise a foot of water, mark where you see those fish, come back the next day, throw a swimmer in there or something like that and kill them, or a topwater plug, and catch them exactly where they were sitting. That's how I like to do a brim bed. Now, if the water's a little bit dirtier, what I like to do is side image and find those brim beds. I zoom out to about 120 feet if it's shallow, and you can actually see the brim beds. They look like craters on my Lowrance HDS 12s. I can see the brim beds. I can see if there's brim in the brim beds. Now, you won't see the bass on them, but it's nothing to throw a big 10-inch power worm or a 6-inch general. Just throw it over there, drag it through real quick without a weight. If one thumps it, shake it off. Just try to find as many as you can. But yeah, sometimes I'd love to see them. And if I see a brim bed, I'm hitting it every day of the week. I don't care if I saw a bass on it or not. But here's the key. You have to watch for guys that are bluegill fishing or brim fishing or pan fishing or whatever. For the ones that love to eat those, they will sit on those brim beds and they will catch every single one of them. The minute that happens, those bass leave and go to the next one, which is who knows where.
Sure.
So sometimes you got to watch and make sure that they don't yank all them bluegill or brim off that bed before your tournament, because if that happens, you're going to go there and be empty-handed. So that's why I'm saying find as many as you can throughout the day and be efficient on looking for them, but also finding them on your side imaging.
Awesome detail response there, Bob. Let me take this one more step into kind of that practice position or atmosphere. You talked about looking for brim beds. Obviously, we talked about, you mentioned flipping. You mentioned throwing a topwater bait a little bit. How important is the type of fishery play in the factor of the ways you're going to look to get that first bite, and also kind of expand a little bit, if you would, on how important those first bites are to feeling confident when practice is underway prior to a tournament? You hear a lot of people say this, Bob. You hear a lot of people say, well, I didn't catch very much, but I eliminated a lot of water. Well, yeah, there's a lot of people that eliminate a lot of water every freaking day. A lot of weekend anglers are eliminating water all weekend, but that's not doing them any good to catch fish. So, how important is getting those bites? And if you're not, moving around to areas or techniques that's being established for you.
Right. Eliminating water is one of the hardest things. And what's sad is sometimes you eliminate the best spot on the lake and you didn't even know it.
Yeah, exactly. Great point.
It's crazy. That's just the way it happens. I've done it a few times this year. I eliminated a few spots at Harris Chain earlier this year at a Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit. The wind was blowing, and lo and behold, did the guys destroy them on my spot. 3 of them made the top 10, and I never went there. And I told myself to go, so I didn't even. It was like a second guess, and I ended up finishing like 74th. In Florida, right. And I found not the winning fish, but I found the fish to make the top 10, and these guys killed them on fish. It was really frustrating. So what I like to do is try to cover as much water as I can in practice. Let's take Okeechobee, for example, and we can use it and say Okeechobee's one of the biggest lakes, but use Okeechobee, put it up north. I like to practice each side of Okeechobee, south, east, northwest, northeast, southwest, however you want to do it. And what I do at the end of my practice, I say, okay, where did I get my most bites? If I had 12 bites on the north end, 6 bites on the south end, 8 bites on the east side, and 2 bites on the west side, I'm going to start on the north end. That's because I had the most bites there. I always say if wherever I get the most bites, even if it's a lake that I'm struggling on and I only get 2 bites, I'm like, all right, I'm going to start where I had the 2 bites, and then I'll go from there. But where I had the 12 bites, I feel like my chance of catching the biggest fish are going to be where I had the most bites. And then I'll work if the wind blows up north that day. Okay, well, at least I don't have to go up there. I can still go down south. And now if the wind blows out of the east, I can run to the east side because I practiced over there. So I like to be efficient, but I like to cover as much water as I can. And then I can say, okay, at least I know in these few areas I had some bites, so I'm good no matter what the wind or what the weather does. That's how you want to prepare yourself, because what happens a lot of time, Kurt, as guys get out there, they find them, they feel like they're on them. And then you hear the ultimate at the weekend. Well, my God, the wind blew 30 out of the Northeast and I couldn't get on those fish. So that's why we came in with 2 that weigh 3 pounds.
Right.
So where'd the guys win it at? They probably won it on the other side of the lake. So, a little bit of knowledge, check your weather route, check what's going on, be prepared so you don't make those excuses when you're out there fishing on the weekends or when you're fishing during the week or whatever tournament you're in. You really want to cover yourself on. And if you just got a gorgeous week and everybody's going to catch them, well, then you need to get out there super early. And I would recommend practicing till dark, till you either find a school or you find some kind of pattern that is going to produce, bigger fish. It's not go to, like Lake of the Ozarks. We were there earlier this year and everybody's catching them.
Yep.
You had to figure out how to catch bigger ones. It wasn't a matter about catching a 2-pounder. Those lakes are chock full of 2-pounders. You got to learn how to catch bigger ones. And some of those guys did, and guys like me didn't. I kind of struggled in that event, but after watching the show and watching the live feed, I learned a lot from watching what those guys did to catch some of those bigger fish. And we watched Jesse Wiggins win that event, throwing shaky head behind docks in areas that other guys weren't. And I never had a shaky head on the deck. So I actually practiced where he was. I just wasn't doing the right thing. So, don't just be, I guess that's another cool thing, is don't be one-sided. Down here in Florida, you can do that. You can pick up a 1.5 ounce weight in Okeechobee and go have success kind of year round. But other than that, you need to really be focused on 5 or 6, 8 rods on your deck at all times with different baits from mid-range to maybe deep and super shallow, and be good at all of them and practice those, knowing that I've done it so many times. I've gone back to a lake that I've had success in, and I go fish those same areas the same way, and I get my butt kicked. And the more I do that, the more frustrated I get. So now I approach every lake with a brand new mind frame.
Yeah. You mentioned this just now, and I think probably, one great advantage that professional anglers have fishing the pro circuit, the BBT, the Elite Series, is they can go back and look at all the live footage if they've had a tough event and figure out why. The weekend angler's got 2 or 3 buddies maybe that he can rely on to tell him the real story. And that's the only picture they really get. So it's a great learning tool for everybody, obviously, watching those events. And specifically if you were there like you are so often, I've been a few times, to be able to fish the actual conditions and then see really how it all plays out. So really cool stuff. Bob, we're going to take a break in the action, power pole down for a moment. Hang in right there. We're going to be back with more in this featured angler spotlight. Stay tuned.
Patented in 2000, perfected over years of testing and real-world punishment, the Power Pole is the ultimate shallow water boat positioning tool. Swift. Power Pole deploys in seconds from anywhere in your boat. Virtually silent, Power Pole won't spook wary fish. Secure in strong currents or gusting winds in up to 8 feet of water. Engineered to take it with a lifetime unconditional replacement guarantee on the spike. Power Pole. Swift. Silent. Secure. Visit powerpole.com to find a dealer near you.
Well, Bass Edge Nation, if our industry required continuing education, you are getting it right here, right now with the master's class from Bobby Lane right here on Bass Edge Radio, presented in part by Mercury Marine, returning with MLF BPT angler Bobby Lane. Mercury Marine, go boldly.
Bob, you're fishing both the Bass Pro Tour and the Pro Circuit this year, probably mixing in a few other things as well that I'm not aware about. But, man, I got to ask you, is it difficult to stay focused through that gauntlet of an event schedule?
Not really. And the reason is I'm fishing basically 2 completely different tours, let's say, so to speak. Okay. Major League owns them both, but I am fishing the Bass Pro Tour, Major League Bass Pro Tour, but I'm also fishing the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit. And I'm not fishing much in between, I promise.
Okay.
That gets me busy enough. But I'm fishing a 5-fish limit, but I'm also fishing an all-you-can-catch in a cut weight, or what size weight is it going to be, 2 pounds or 1.8? But
sure.
You got the score tracker, and you have all that pressure put on you on the Bass Pro Tour. Like, I really enjoy that week. It's fun. It's educating for people. It's a lot of live coverage. It's A group, B group, knockout round, championship, the whole 9 yards. Well, then I'll go to a Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit, a 5-fish limit event, 2 days of practice, 1 day off, boom, 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 boom. If you make the top 10 and the top 50, everybody fishes 2 days, third day, top 50, final days, championship Sunday, top 10. It's all really smooth and really quick. Not a lot of meetings, not worrying about groups. You're not worried about score tracker. You don't know who you got to get or get above the cut line, below the cut line. It's a huge, huge difference between those two events. So I really have the best of both worlds in fishing those events, and I love them both. I really feel comfortable being at both. The pro circuit, my brother, his son, me, and Justin Lucas, normally we get a house together. It's good camaraderie. We really have a lot of fun. But then on the Bass Pro Tour, it's been me, Lucas, and my brother, and we get to spend a lot of time together, and we're really enjoying that. As Justin's family's getting a little older, his kids are getting up there now. My brothers, of course, are older, and my kids are up there. They're just hit summer break yesterday, so it's fun for families if you do it that way. We're really enjoying being a part of the pro circuit and the Tackle Warehouse, but it is a huge, hectic schedule. This is my first kind of break since January 14th. I've been in and out of my house 2 or 3 days, but this is like my first week and a half off. So right. I'm very grateful to have this time.
Oh, that's fantastic, man. It's it is cool to see from your perspective, or hear, I should say, from your perspective, the different feelings you get, essentially competitive feelings that you get from the BBT versus the pro circuit. So I can see how, even though you're fishing on kind of the same, obviously, organization, they're two totally different sensation touch points, as you might say, because of the change in the formats and the change in the way each event's run. So that kind of keeps it fresh, I'm sure.
Yeah, it does. It's nice. Like, I'll go fish a Bass Pro Tour, then I'll fish a Pro Circuit, or Pro Circuit, then Bass Pro Tour. And you're right. One of them's refreshing, and the other one's refreshing because it's two completely different scenarios. Yeah. So it's like I said earlier, it's kind of like I got the best of both worlds. I can put my net, my culling tags, and my weigh-in scale in my boat one tournament, and I take them all out in the next tournament. So you've got to kind of, be ready to switch gears. Yeah. But at the same time, I really enjoy the calmness of the Bass Pro Tour, but I really like let's not call it hectic, but the really pressure, down to the wire, the cut line, knockout round, championship. You always updated on what's going on. I like that also, because sometimes at the pro circuit, I'm like, golly, I wonder how I'm doing today. Well, you don't know till you get to weigh in. On that Bass Pro Tour, you know how you're doing every single minute of every day you're fishing. So it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, Bobby, and I would argue that perhaps going back to what we had started the interview with is that has added to kind of just your evolution as an angler. And, given the fact that we've kind of established, that turning point and you kind of turning into more of a pro angler with a steady career that you are today, I'd like for you to kind of maybe put on your coach's hat. And if myself or another, fan of Bass Edge Radio walks into your office and you've got to give them some advice, how would you consult me or that person or even a guide on the pro circuit angler that's trying to make a go in this sport?
Yeah, I'm going to start with, and I run a big high school event down here every year, and a junior event, the Bobby Lane Cup down here in December. And I'm going to start with those guys, the juniors in the high school and college. They come actually back and boat captain some of these high schoolers. But man, I got in this years and years ago for one reason, and that was because I love to catch bass. I didn't want a sponsor. I didn't want nothing. I wanted my boat and trolling motor to run, and I wanted my truck to get me to the boat ramp so I could catch as many bass as I could. Everybody got into this. Guides did, other professional anglers, weekend anglers. They all get into this because they love to catch bass. Now, it doesn't matter if they're green ones, spotted ones, brown ones, whatever other bass are out there. We all love the sport of bass fishing. And I can't reiterate that enough, even to to guys that are older, like myself, I mean, I'm 48 this year. I still remember those days when I just loved catching bass and had no worries at all in the world. Well, now we got sponsorships, and guides are trying to grab the local gas sponsor or the local tackle shop to get on their jersey so they can maybe get free tackle or get free gas or get a paycheck from one of the local title companies or something like that in town. I mean, we've all lived, I owned a lawn company. I bet every fisherman out there had someone owned a lawn company or mowed their own yard for money or mowed somebody else's yard for money. But, it's two things for me. Number one, I love to catch fish, and I put everything else aside. I realized that if my name's towards the top of the leaderboard throughout my beginning careers, and what happened is people recognized me, which was awesome, because I love to catch bass. Well, then the sponsorship became a little easier because I was making a name for myself. Well, for some guys that, blah, 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 they might not be always at the top, but they'll win one tournament and then they kind of go on a slow one. So on that side of it is I say get with a sponsor in the business that's a big sponsor also, like myself with Pure Fishing. There's several other sponsors out there, and brand yourself with that sponsor. Grow with them, become part of them, and learn everything about their business and stay in touch with them. And that's what sponsors love is, stay in contact, even if it's through a text message or just a call every couple of weeks or once a month or something like that. Involve them in social media, but, get with somebody and stay with them. Nobody wants the guy that bebops around, oh, you're with this hook company this year, you're with that hook company the next year, and the next year the boss from the first hook company went to work for the third hook company, and he's not going to hire you because you burnt that bridge. And we all know how that works, Kurt and Aaron. I promise you guys have done it. But to put it in a nutshell, start with catching fish because that's what we love to do. Second would be, if you're after sponsorship, get with a company that's going to stand behind you and build a relationship with them through your career. And then just kind of let the cards unfold for themselves. If it's meant to be, God will put things in your plan and show you that this is the avenue he wants you to take, or he'll direct you in another path. And for me, he directed me right to where I'm supposed to be at this time on the phone with you guys and teaching other people how to do it. And I love doing that. And I think he's given me maybe a sixth sense to speak to kids and anglers. Some people can't even talk on the microphone or with a camera in their face. They just jar up. They'd never be able to do it. And my son would be the same way until, maybe he gets longer. It was so cool. I watched my brother's son on live at Gunnersville. They put a camera with him the first day, and how he reacted to that camera and still caught a bunch of fish. I thought it was really cool, and I feel like, he's making some big strides in the industry, just getting that out of the way. So we all know how that goes, but that would be my 1-2 kind of punch to, fishing, sponsorship, being a guide, a weekend angler, kind of take what's out there and make it the best you can make it.
All right.
But catch fish.
Catch fish. Yeah. Keep it simple. Don't overthink the process. Yeah. All right, Bob. I was reading a couple weeks ago, Stephen Browning won a cup event. MLF let the cat out of the bag a little bit in some of those press releases when Stephen won that event. The cup events going to team tournaments or team events in 2023. I think I read that correctly. Obviously, you got the inside knowledge. Was that a Bass Pro Tour angler decision? And if so, what was the driving factor for them to vote in that direction?
Yeah, I was actually part of the very first pilot show team event. We actually won the event. That's no secret. Been aired on TV now, but that was one of the coolest events I've done. But what I like about the team series, Kurt, is we've seen the cup events now. I was a part of the very first cup event. I don't know, Lake Amistad 10, 11 years ago, 8, I don't know how many years ago, but
yeah, I think it was 2012. Yeah, like 10, 11 years.
We've had the cup series going on, the 1 pound minimum. People love that, but it's kind of like everything else. You got to kind of stay up on top of things. And I feel like Major League's doing a wonderful job at that. And going to a team series event, which now is going to let me, I will be a captain. I'm just throwing that out there. There'll be 27 captains. I will be one of them. And I will have a 3-man team counting myself. And the roster's going to go down here in a few weeks. I think we're all going to have the roster. Then I know you guys will see what team's on what.
Gotcha.
But the way it works is we're all Bluetooth together through an earpiece. So I know where my team is at all times. I can talk to them every single cast of the way. Nice. What's cool is when a lot of these times on the cameras now, when they say
hey, give us an update. And the guy says, okay, well, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. I got 26 pounds and I need to get to 41 pounds to beat Justin Lucas, Okay, right. Thanks. Well, then the next guy up, give us an update. The beautiful thing about the team series is you're getting updated all day long because those guys were just constantly talking in our Bluetooth. Yeah. So they don't have to ask for an update because you're getting everything every angler's thinking at that given time. And there's going to be 3 events. I think September, October, November is when we'll do all these, and then there'll be a championship at the end of the year. But my take on the whole thing is it's refreshing. It's going to be a whole new way to look at bass fishing. It's going to be so cool to watch the top names in the world work together, even though they've never worked together before on Bluetooth, which is going to be super cool. And I mean, we're talking a $300,000 championship at the end of the year. So I promise you, there's not guys going, oh, this is cool, but I'm
not giving away the juice. Right.
Yeah, they are going to come off of every single thing they know. And it's going to be weird. You might see guys like, Jacob Wheeler paired up with a Mark Daniels, and those two actually have to work together as opposed to not giving up all the secrets because this is how I'm catching them. I might have to pick a guy like, maybe me and Kevin Van Dam will be on the same team.
Right.
And I'm the captain, and I got to tell Kevin, hey, dude, cranking is not the deal today. We are going to do this.
I love it.
But I got all the respect in the world for Van Dam. And here's the deal, guys. It's no practice. So it's not like we're going to be on that body of water finding fish. We are going to still show up, and it's a cup event style, but it's going to be team event with no practice. So Kevin is the best cranker of all times and always will be. Hats off to him for him and his career. Don't let me ever, I never got anything negative to say about that man. He has got us all to where we are at today. But
it's funny.
We are going zero practice, and you don't know what lake you're going to be on. All they do is give you dates. So you kind of got to be ready for everything.
Yeah, if it's 10:30 and you're flipping them out of trees and you're talking on Bluetooth to Kevin and he's offshore cranking some Strike King bait somewhere, you'd be like, Kevin, dude, it's not working out there. Get the hell on the bank. Right. And vice versa. He could be out there and Absolutely.
I'm like, hey, cool, Kevin's killing him. What's he doing? Kevin, I'm coming up, dude. What's the deal? I'm throwing a Series 4, right?
Yep.
On these shallow rocks out here. Okay, I'm all in. I'm going to pick my Berkeley dredger up and go to work.
Calling Rojas.
That's how cool this is going to be. And it can go so many – you can think of all the scenarios of all the anglers. I mean, we got the West Coast, some of the best guys that know swim baits and drop shots and Nico rigs and all kinds of different situations. And we don't know where we're going. And we're going to have a team that we don't know what the team is going to be yet. So it'll go the 27 team captains. Each guy will pick from the pool. So the top 27 in points from last year. I think Mark Rose was 27th and Jacob Wheeler was first, and everybody in between gets to pick. They're going to pick Mark first, let Mark Rose pick first, and then they'll go up to one and then back and then up to one. So,
well, Bobby, you need to come up with
really exciting.
You need to come up with some sort of retribution for your team. The lowest finisher of the tournament has to wash the other guy's boat or something.
Well, here's the deal. If you're not in the top, so I think there's 3 teams fishing at a time or 9 teams. If you're in the bottom after the second round, okay, or second period, I guess there may be periods. First, second, third period, we always go to a break, a rendezvous point. If you're in the bottom after the second, you're immediately eliminated. You're done. You don't have a shot for the championship or anything. So the goal is not to be in that bottom for sure.
Yeah, don't suck. All right. Hey, Bob, we're going to get to a quick Nitro Performance Bass Boats listener question segment. This question came through our Instagram, maybe setting up perfect for this mid-June time frame. Post-spawn, Carolina rigging. Steven asked, when considering a leader for a Carolina rig, do you prefer mono for the buoyancy, or do you go with fluorocarbon to minimize stretch and line visibility?
If I'm throwing a Carolina rig on a standard bait caster, 7.3 heavy, blah, 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 I always throw my go-to leader is 15-pound Berkeley Big Game green monofilament, and I go anywhere from 1.5 feet to 3 foot on my leader, depending on what kind of cover I'm fishing.
There you go. Pretty simple. And you like the mono because of the stretch? You like it because of the buoyancy? What's the property that you think it gives you to provide an advantage to catch more fish?
The reason I like the monofilament, Berkeley Big Game, 15 pound, it's got the stretch. If I hang one in a deep rock or a deep tree, that fish can pull and drag, as opposed to like a fluorocarbon where it's more abrasion. If it starts pulling and dragging in a tree, man, that stuff's going to pop because it's more brittle. I like the stretch. And plus it's a long sweeping hook set for the most part, right? So I like the little bit of stretch. And if that fish wants to jump, the rod can give to the fish a little bit, kind of like the pendulum with the crankbait and the rod bending as you hook one and a big one jumps way out there. You want your rod to kind of bend with the fish. That's the same scenario I'm going to give you why I choose the mono over any other Carolina rig leader.
Yeah, makes sense. Good stuff.
Well, appreciate, Bobby, you answering Steven's question. And Steven, we need you to do one more thing, and that is simply to log on to BassEdge.com, click the Claim Your Prize tab, fill out the information. Let us know that you heard Bobby answer your question right here on episode 378, and we are going to get the free gift card sent directly to you for Midway USA, to where you can purchase all things fishing, hunting, and the outdoors.
And Bass Edge listeners, you could have your question answered on the show too, from an angler just like Bobby Lane, not Bob himself, because he already answered one, but someone similar to Bob Lane, an expert in the sport. All you got to do is comment on Instagram or Facebook. We're going to put those Midway USA gift cards out there. Just simply comment on the post. If your question is heard on the show, we're going to send you that gift card.
Well, Bobby, as always, really appreciate you carving out time in your busy schedule. Just such a consummate professional, and you've been on here several times, and certainly always look forward to having you back. Any closing thoughts for Bass Edge Nation before we let you go?
First, I want to thank you guys for having me on. It has been a while. I thought the questions were great. You guys have a great show. And as I've loved saying this, I am very humbled but honored to be your 2022 RedCrest champion, and look forward to doing it again real soon, guys.
Absolutely, Bob. Congratulations on that championship. Now you got 2 in the family, and keep those coming. Maybe Cal will be the next, right? All right, man. Well, hey, appreciate you being on the show. I'll be looking for a repeat, actually. RedCrest 2023, Bobby Lane. How's that sound?
Sounds wonderful. This is my worst year in the Bass Pro Tour, and I think it's kind of because they said, dude, you've already made the RedCrest. You don't have to worry about the points. When they said that, I feel like the monkey's been lifted off my back. I mean, think how hard we worked, Kurt, to get to where we were to qualify for these classics or championships or RedCrest. We did everything we could out there on the water to try to get there, and it always came down to the last tournament. So to have that the monkey off my back is awesome. But I'm hungry now. I'm ready. Yep. Now I'm ready. I'm ready to get back at it. And we got a busy schedule towards the end of the year here, and I'm looking forward to it, man.
You bet, man. Well, appreciate you spending time again. Everybody stay tuned. Aaron and I will be right back.
You know the importance of protecting your investments, so why use anything else other than the original and toughest DIY keel protector for your boat, Megaware KeelGuard. Grinding sand, abrasive rocks, and concrete ramps are no match for our exclusive contoured edge and patented technology. Megaware KeelGuard keel protectors are made tough and made to stick. Their do-it-yourself installation takes less than an hour, providing the longest-lasting, most dependable keel protection for your boat, guaranteed for life. Developed specifically by boat builders offering the best keel protection in the industry. Also from Megaware KeelGuard, Skeg Guard, Flex Step Pro, and Pontoon Guard. So give your boat the performance edge. Put on the protection the pros pick. Megaware KeelGuard.
The PowerPole Charge Marine Power Management Station is the most advanced system of its kind available on the market. It does the work of 3 devices, a traditional battery charger, a charge on the run, and an emergency start system, all in one compact unit. The Charge lets you run your boat's accessories the way you want to run them by allowing you to monitor and control your power usage through the PowerPole app. It automatically devotes power to the batteries that need it the most for maximum efficiency. The new Charge from PowerPole. Power where you need it, power how you need it, power when you need it.
Kurt, I know we took a little bit more time, but time to me was well spent. Bobby Lane, again, every time we have him on here, he always brings the goods. Phenomenal angler, and his path of evolution, that is what really stood out to me this time, and just to see him, like we said in the interview, evolve over his career.
Right. Yeah. When he first started fishing, it was always just Bobby Lane. We talked to him in the interview as Bobby, and sometimes now I'm just like Bob, because I feel like he's like Sir Bob, right? He's like,
that's right.
RedCrest. It's not just Bobby, the guy Bobby. It's like Sir Bob. So now I'm like Bob Lane, 2022 RedCrest champion. It's like more official now because he's taken the title. He's a winner, super versatile. We talked about his versatility and how he's come from Florida and just created a whole new angler within himself as the years have progressed. And that's why he's so good and stayed in the sport and has just been super successful, man. So it was great to get to chat with him. I always enjoy chatting with Bob, but always fun too to talk about new products with Chris Shoplock there on the Nomad deal. What's your take on the auto tune, man? When I saw that, I was blown away, thinking of designs and things this could give us anglers in the bass fishing market. What's your take on the auto tune, Aaron?
My take is, why didn't I think of that? I mean, it's like, it's on one hand, it's so advanced, but yet so simplistic. And the fact that, how many times, Kurt, have you been standing on the deck of the boat trying to take your needle nose to get, to bend the eye over to tune a bait, and then you overcorrect it and it goes the other way. And it's just, it's mind numbing.
It's cool stuff.
Yeah.
And they've got some neat action on some of their baits as well. So it's going to be fun to watch, see where they go. If like Chris mentioned at the close of that segment, check them out on Nomad Design through social media. They do a ton of stuff on social media, YouTube, that kind of thing. That's the best way to catch up on what they're doing. So,
well, and rumor has it, probably going to have a giveaway, perhaps.
Yes, that is the rumor. I'm going to reach out to Chris, and we will have a giveaway. No rumor. Let's just call it what it is. We're going to have one. So stay tuned to the Bass Edge social media. Going to have a freshwater series tackle pack from Nomad Design. Be looking for it. It's going to run from June 15th through the end of June. Be sure to stay tuned to Bass Edge social media to have a chance to win that Nomad tackle pack.
All right, good stuff. Well, Kurt, I hate to cut you short. It's always a pleasure being on the mic with you and hanging out with all Bass Edge Nation, but I am in the midst of practice, and I want to make sure I can at least make try and get 5 in the live well come Saturday. So anyway,
get it done. I'm going to get it done. Make us proud.
I'm going to do my best. But anyway, any closing thoughts before we shut her down?
Not really, man. We're starting to hit into the summertime. Love to get some more feedback on the Bass Edge social about maybe some anglers you'd love to hear here on the program. Aaron and I, we've talked to so many guys, right, Aaron? So many anglers, and want to hear more about what you, the listeners, would like to hear from us out of the show, because this platform's for you. We do it for y'all, and appreciate you being a listener.
Well, and I would argue they don't want to hear from us. That's why they need to respond in and tell us who they do want to hear from. So anyway, all right. That's right. There you have it. There you are. Please send us all of that information via our social media, or certainly support at BassEdge.com. Keep sending in those questions. Those Midway USA gift cards are a hot commodity, and we will do our best to get yours chosen and get you that gift card sent out directly. But for all things Bass Edge, stay tuned via our social media. For Kurt Dove, I am Aaron Martin. So long, everybody. The
Edge is presented by Megaware KeelGuard. For more information on Bass Edge or to shop at the Bass Edge online store, visit BassEdge.com, and be sure to join Kurt Dove and Aaron Martin right here on another episode of The Edge, brought to you in part by Nitro Boats, Midway USA, Mercury Marine,